This is Hearthstone Lore for the Uninitiated, a series where I am going to meticulously go over the lore of every card. What have I got myself into? There's like 500 of them! In fact, there's so many cards, and so many ways I could categorize them, I'm just going to go ahead and do it completely randomly, so you're not going to be getting any kind of organized system here. Which is the only reason the first card I cover will also be the highest mana cost card in the entire game. So, Molten Giant. And, by proxy, Geological Azeroth History Part 1. Basically, picture an ancient, amorphous, molten Azeroth. Seriously, picture it, I don't have any photos or drawings to put up, and... No, you know what, screw it. I'll draw it for you. There. Don't say I don't put any extra effort into this. This picture took ages. This right here was the world before the Titans came. The Titans being the ancient, immeasurably powerful progenitor people who travel from world to world, populating them with the seeds of their perfect image of life. Though this perfect image of life comes from the minds of giant men and women made of metal, so naturally their ideal life forms are made of metal and stone. To wit, they created, among other things, the giants. Stone, mountain, sea, storm, ice, fire. Go planet! Though it's unlikely that the Titans created ice, fire, and storm giants specifically because they appear to be byproducts of the curse that gave them all fleshy skin, and made them fully susceptible to the effects of mortality. I'll go over that another time, it's a long story. These giants were created and then left on the planet's surface, as far as we know, to act as defenders of both the land and the other titanic creations who were left to do more specific work, such as the Earthen, who built the world's actual shape, and the Mechanomes, who built and maintained the titanic machines that keep the world running. More or less. Where Molten Giants go into this, I'm not 100% sure. They appear unrelated to the Titanic Giants. As far as I know, they're just a specific type of fire elemental, the physical embodiment of the primal forces that shaped the world long before the Titans ever showed up. Huge, angry, and made out of molten lava and searing hot rock, Molten Giants are usually used as guards, siege weapons, or movable walls by agents of the Firelands, the elemental world in which all fire elementals live, including Ragnaros. Under normal circumstances, no fire elemental is able to leave the Firelands without being summoned. Fortunate for them, then, that the Emperor of the Dark Iron Dwarf clan, Sorcerer Thane Thorison, the ancestor of the Thorison we know and love, decided to end the war between the three dwarf clans, the War of the Three Hammers, by summoning Ragnaros, which was a bad idea. In doing this, he simultaneously enslaved the Dark Iron Dwarf clan and created the Black Rock Mountain we all know today. You know, the giant volcano. Bringing Ragnaros into the world also enabled him to bring even more fire elementals into the world, including large numbers of Molten Giants, not to mention Flame Wakers. Prominent Molten Giants of this time included Golemag, the one that has the big pair of fluffy dogs, Thol Imbar, the Incinerator, one that most dangerously invaded parts of Mount Hyjal, and Baal Gar, who was generally the first Molten Giant that any adventurer in Warcraft may ever see with their own two eyes. The Molten Giants vigilantly stood guard in the depths of Black Rock Mountain within the Molten Core, as well as guarding numerous giant doors in Shadowforge City, the city of the Dark Iron Dwarves. After adventurers killed Ragnaros in the Molten Core and banished him back to the Firelands, Molten Giants were rarely ever seen, if ever. Right up to the point when Deathwing basically decided that the barrier between elemental planes and our world could do with being shattered entirely, and opened a big portal to the Firelands right in the heart of Night Elf territory. This enabled more Molten Giants to make a grand reappearance, dotting the landscape of the Firelands and even allowing players to see for ourselves the oldest giant of them all, the magma giant known as Lord Rhyolith, one of the oldest elementals in existence. And I mean, that is old. Seriously, seriously old. He stood as a rather stubborn presence in the Firelands, ignoring distractions and focusing on his task of creating new elementals.
Short little fleshy things? Here? Nuisances.
Over his exponentially gigantic lifespan, he harbored a huge hatred for the Titans, believing it to be a huge show of arrogance when they performed the action that cursed all of the elementals to be stuck in their worlds at all. That is to say, the Firelands for fire elementals, Skywall for air elementals, Deep Home for earth elementals, and the Abyssal Maw for the water elementals. You see, the Titans imprisoned them, placing each of them in their own little worlds. The fire elementals, the Firelands, are a searing molten mess of floating islands in a seemingly endless expanse of red nothingness. When adventurers raided the Firelands, Lord Rhyolith, alongside many other fire elementals, were killed. his own creations, his own impenetrable armor, cracked and broken, while adventurers made their way into Ragnaros' own lair. With Ragnaros' death, the legacy of the Molten Giants is in question. Most of them have been killed. Certainly they haven't been seen since, on our world at least, and it's unlikely they will be for quite some time. I mean, eventually some new ones might happen naturally, but I mean, we killed all the big ones, so they're all dead.